Order. Madam Secretary, will you please read the roll?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Chairwoman Maderas, Member Bettencourt, Member Connors,
Present.
Member DeSimone, Member Giacalone,
Present.
Member Johnson,
Present.
Vice Chair Scholes,
Present.
Executive Director Robert Reposa,
Present.
Legal Counsel Raymond Parscale.
Present.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much. A quorum being present, the meeting will proceed. The first item on the agenda is the board may vote to meet in executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A4 pertaining to investigative proceedings regarding allegations of misconduct, either civil or criminal in nature. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Second, all in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. So the board will meet in executive session. This will give an opportunity for chair to arrive, and then we'll commence the public section of the meeting later. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session and resume open session? Moved by Mr. Scholl,
Second.
seconded by Mr. D. Simone. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are back in open session. Minutes are sealed. Mr. Marcascio, would you report on our executive
Yes.
session?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's one matter to report out of executive session. After discussion by the board, a motion was made by Vice Chair Scholes to refer all nomination papers submitted on behalf of candidate Sabina Matos for a review and appropriate investigation by the Attorney General with a report back to the board no later than 30 days hence, if possible. That motion was seconded by Mr. D. Simone. 5 members voted in favor, Chair Maderos, Vice Chair Scholes, Board members Johnson, D. Simone, and Connors. 1 opposed, Mr. Giacavone. The motion carried 5-1. Thank you, Madam Chair. That is it.
Thank you, Mr. Marcascio. We will continue with the agenda after hearing from our attorney. Item number 2, the board may vote to hear objections relating to the nomination papers filed on behalf of the following candidates for the Congressional District 1 election pursuant to the requirements of Rhode Island General Law 17-14-13 and 17-14-14. And we are going to hear from Miguel Nunez
And Jen Regan.
and Jen Regan on the matters having to do with nomination papers for those listed herein.
Are the other interested people present?
So should we start one at a time, though?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the first on the list, Makeda Sebastiana Barnes. So if she is present, if she would like. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Miguel?
Good afternoon, members of the board. I will now proceed with presenting you the review of each objection that the staff conducted for each of the candidates. As you know, each candidate is required under Title 17, Chapter 14, Section 7 to obtain 500 valid signatures for representative in Congress to be placed on the primary ballot scheduled for September 5th, 2023. First objection to be reviewed is Makeda Sebastiana Barnes. Ms. Barnes submitted three. Yeah.
1 second, Mr. Muniz. I think if you're going to be providing information, we better just have you sworn in.
Oh, you want to swear in Miguel as well?
Yes, if he's going to be providing information, we should.
Okay. Mr. Nunez, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. That's what you meant to say.
Ms. Barnes submitted 377 signatures on, Jacob, you want to switch the slide for me, please? Ms. Barnes submitted 377 signatures on 31 forms to 9 different communities in CD1, which is, this 377 number is 123 signatures less than the 500 required to be placed on the ballot. 250 of these 377 signatures were validated by the boards of canvassers, and 127 were disqualified. Now, if the board were to approve all 377 signatures submitted by Ms. Barnes, she would still have 123 fewer signatures than the 500 required to qualify for ballot placement. That's the extent of my report on our analysis of her nomination papers. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does the board have any questions of Mr. Nunez? Okay. Ms. Barnes, did you want to respond? If you do, we need to swear you in.
Yes, I do.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, very good.
Is your mic on?
I see the
Let's
light
make
on.
sure- Should it be green?
There we go. Very good.
Good afternoon,
Board of Elections. I would like to state that while I was going through this process, I learned a lot in the 2 weeks. I called it Hell Week for 2 weeks. I experienced that we have more undocumented people living in the state of Rhode Island than we do that are voters. I also learned that we have more Massachusetts people living here than we do Rhode Islanders. And nobody's actually telling them they have to, register to vote, or that they need to change over their license plates, or their old, anything that has to do with Massachusetts over to Rhode Island. So as I'm going through this process, I'm also noticing the other candidates have underage people gathering signatures, people who are saying that they're gathering signatures, putting in towards the end that they gathered the signatures and they're not getting the signatures, or we're not the ones that took the signatures. Um, and I'm just going, well, okay, this is kind of odd. This is kind of weird. Um, I was given the same paperwork that they were given. I was told I need to read this before I go out and gather these signatures. While I was out, I'm at the same type of markets, gathering signatures in the same neighborhoods um, on the east side, and I'm gathering signatures at this Whole Foods over the Red Bridge, and I'm told by a white woman, "Who you gathering signatures for?" And I said, "No one, ma'am. I'm gathering signatures for myself." "Well, who are you?" "I'm Makita Sebastiana Bonds." "Oh, if you go knocking on my door, me and my friends, we're gonna shoot you through the door." So the other white woman who was signing my clipboard said, "Ma'am, do you want me to stay with you?" And I said, "Yes," because I said, I don't know whether to take her serious or not. So she went inside. Not even 2 minutes later, the manager came out of Whole Foods and was like, "You need to leave. You're soliciting, you're trespassing, and you need to leave now." And I said, "Well, ma'am, I need to know what it is that I'm soliciting or trespassing." She's like, "Well, this young lady right here," I said, "the one that just threatened me." So we got going back and forth. The other young lady pulled up something that saying that this was my constitutional right. I'm explaining. She's like, "I'm gonna call the cops." We waited. The cop also explained to me that I was trespassing and I was soliciting, which we all disagreed that it was untrue, except the cop, the manager, and the other white woman who said she was going to shoot me. So as I'm going to leave, she asked me for my ID. I give her my ID. Guess she wanted to make sure it was me. And I said, "Well, since you're going to ask me for my ID, can you write a report?" She said she would, never gave me a report number. So now that it's time for me to leave, she said, "If you think you're going to go door to door, if you go door to door, you're going to be arrested. You should just go home." So I felt like I was having or experiencing voter suppression based that they just did not want me to gather any signatures on the east side. They just didn't want me to know the people I wanted to represent on the east side. I wasn't who they wanted on the east side. Um, the other white woman who signed my paperwork, she expressed that she felt like it was wrong. She said people been out here all week gathering signatures. The very next day, I went to go down to go on the boulevard by the park so I could see if I could meet some of the people I want to represent. And sure enough, there was 3 white guys out there gathering signatures. Nobody made them get off the property. Nobody called the cops on them. Nobody threatened to shoot them through any doors or make any threats to them. I feel as though I would have met my 500 quota mark if I was able to meet some of the people that I wanted to represent. I was trying to go to every district to meet everybody so they could find out who I am, so I could have signatures in every district. And once that happened to me, I felt like I was singled out. I felt like it's voter suppressed. I didn't want to go to Jamestown after that. I didn't want to go to Newport after that. I didn't want to go to Warren after that. My daughter had to leave her job out in Hope Valley on Thursday and Friday so she could come with me to the meet and greet that was in Warren. Because after that, I felt like I wanted to give up. I felt like I just wanted to quit, all because I felt it was a lot of racism. They already knew who they wanted. I was told by another white woman on the east side while I was over there by the boulevard, oh no, we had a meeting about this about a month and a half ago. They want to put Sabrina Montos in David's seat, and then from there they want to take Bob DeSilva, your mayor, and put him in the lieutenant governor's seat. So we already know who we want in this seat, and we're gonna make it happen. So at this particular point in time, this is rigged. The Board of Elections, in my eyes, is rigged. Now I'm starting to understand why a lot of people go, I don't want to vote, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, is because it's rigged.
Okay.
I don't, hold on,
No,
I
no.
don't,
You've made your point. We understand what you're saying.
I
Are you
understand,
almost
but
finished?
I'm almost finished. I don't want nobody to stop me.
Okay.
I just want you to understand, I don't want to have this persona about our system. I don't want nobody else to have this persona about our system. But I want to explain to you, I made this complaint before the boiling water started going over the pot. So if this happens to me on July 11th, and I tell Sabina Montos about it when we're in Warren at a meet and greet, her issues didn't start until well after I told her what happened to me. At the end of the day, things come out. What's done in the dark comes to the light. So there definitely is a problem. But I expect you guys on this board to handle this, because this is where democracy takes place. And it starts with you guys on this board. And when you let one go, the next one's gonna do it, and they're gonna expect you to let that person go. People need to take accountability. When you hire somebody to do a job, they need to do it. I don't care if it was a volunteer or if it was paid. If they're not doing the job, they can't do, and they want to forge signatures, they want to do this, they want to do that, they want to have people running around, they want to plan out things. Let the people choose who they want. Don't have things pre-planned. Don't threaten my life. I have kids. Let the people choose. Not only that, I also witnessed where on Sabina Montos's campaign, I witnessed a tall white guy taking signatures. For Sabina Montos to have the other woman, what's her name, Nancy, gathering signatures, or the other one that we're seeing on TV.
We're getting
Ms.
off the
Barnes?
track here.
I'm just saying, I
Please
want
finish up, because
because
we're getting off the track here.
I just don't know their names, but for two women to put in signatures saying that they gathered.
Ms. Barnes, sorry, I have to stop you. That this is not the nature
Well-
of your objection that you're here under
Well,
oath to
I just-
testify on. This is way off the track.
I
We
just want to
shouldn't-
I just want to handle everything at once, so I don't have to
But
come
this,
back.
you did not put that as an objection in writing, so
Yes,
we
I did.
cannot,
Yes, I did.
Can I just
I
ask a
don't see
question?
anything
Please
about.
do.
Yeah,
When-
ask
when you-
questions.
Right, what you had was, you had 250 signatures approved, right? Is it your contention that because you were prevented from going out, you couldn't get more signatures? Is that what your appeal is?
Yes, if,
Specific to you, I mean, what happened to you?
if I don't think the board actually read what I was appealing.
Oh, we
I read
did.
what you- I read what you had.
If a committee, a campaign has 15, 20 people having, people just running around,
Mhm.
being rude to people, by the time they get to me, it's just me. I'm the only
Right.
one. I'm actually doing my job, which is going out, meeting the people. But if
So-
one campaign has 15 to 20 people running around, being rude, telling people just sign, just do this.
And that impacted you to not be able to get those signatures?
Yes, because
Okay,
when
so
it came time,
Hold
when
on
it-
just a second. So I'm just gonna ask our legal counsel if that's going to meet the standard that we need here for an objection, because I think that we need to kind of narrow the issue if we can, right?
Well, first of all, there has to be mathematical possibility. And we need something more by way of evidence. We would not be making determinations based upon hearsay and other comments.
So I guess, ma'am, the only thing I'm asking is from your standpoint, you're here today to get on the ballot, correct?
I'm here because I'm supposed to be on the ballot. I'm telling you what I witnessed. I'm not telling you that this is hearsay. And for him to say that this is hearsay, he's out of line, because I was at the Cape Verdean Festival. I am a Cape Verdean descent woman. I was at the 4th of July fireworks. I live in East Providence, so I know what I saw. I was there collecting signatures, and I'm telling you what I saw. And I was telling you that that tall white guy was not the one who submitted his signatures on behalf of Sabina Montos, and that's not hearsay.
So what I would suggest two things, ma'am. In that regard, as you heard at executive session, we referred this matter over to the Attorney General to investigate those particular issues in question. So I would suggest that basically you come forward to them as part of their investigation. But with regard to this particular proceeding, this is a proceeding which you need to present evidence on your behalf as to why you should be on the ballot, as to why you should be credited with 500 signatures, because right now, all we have are 250 signatures from you.
I should be
And unfortunately, if you just let
I
me
just-
finish, unfortunately for this particular proceeding, we are required by law to enforce the 500 signature requirement. We cannot let you on the ballot if you don't have more than 500 signatures. So just so you know that, I'm just trying to narrow the issue for you so that if you do have any other evidence, you can give it to us.
Okay, I placed a complaint, just like I said,
Are you
with the
contesting?
with the FEC. I'm gonna give you the complaint number.
Okay. Are you contesting the fact that you have more than 377 signatures submitted?
I told you I had more than 377. I just didn't have the 500 because I was stopped by.
No, you had 377. That's what you submitted.
You could tell me I had
That's
377.
what we were told.
Now, that's hearsay. If
No,
we want to talk
That's
about.
right on that paper.
No,
ma'am.
if we want to talk about hearsay, we'll talk about hearsay, because I have my copies, you have your copies.
So how many do you contend that you have,
Yes,
ma'am?
let's hear your version of how many you have.
I have about 400, I want to say maybe 437.
So-
Also shy of 500.
Right. So what the chair's
I
point
would-
is, what the chair's point is, ma'am, even if we say, we agree, you have 480 signatures.
Yeah.
We are prohibited by law from putting you on the ballot
right.
because you don't have 500. Am I correct, counsel?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. DeSimone.
Okay, I was threatened to be shot through a door. Nobody warned me that my safety would be because somebody wants somebody else to be in David Cicilline's spot, that my safety would be at risk. Would anybody else want to go door to door and knocking at somebody's door? If somebody says, I'm going to shoot you, me and my friends, if you go knocking door to door on the east side, go knocking on the door for signatures, when that's in fact, that was what is part of my first constitutional right,
And-
running for this spot, is to go door to door and get signatures.
And did the
I'm
police,
being
did the
stopped.
police, did the police?
The police officer came, it was a white woman with all red hair, and she said, if you knock door to door, if you come down here on the east side and you knock door to door, I'm gonna arrest you and charge you with trespassing and soliciting.
And did you get that officer's name and badge number?
She told me she was gonna do a police report. I told you, she asked me for my ID, and I said, well, you're asking me for my ID, you need to give me a report number. She wouldn't give me a report number. Now, I'm assuming she had this little box on her chest. Why can't somebody or anybody, even from this board, pull her body cam?
That's not our place to do. I think you need to do that with the police department, ma'am. You need to
Well,
pursue it with
listen,
them.
I put in a complaint with the FBI.
Okay.
It says
like you knew
submission
your-
successful. I could give you guys the number. I could read off the number. I submitted the number. And I did this well before any of this boiled over.
The
I
issue
did
is,
this
ma'am,
on Friday.
we cannot allow your name to go on the ballot under the current circumstances. And I think that really is the bottom line here. As much as it sounds like you had an unfortunate situation, but there's nothing that this board can do to allow your name to get on that ballot by law.
Well, if my name can't go on there, then Sabina Montos's name can't go on there because
That's
her,
another issue, ma'am. And I
well, it
appreciate
might-
your
it might be
input, and
another
I
issue.
appreciate your coming
it
here.
might be
But
another
I think
issue.
it's time
but I'm
for you
test-
to leave, and to
It's
thank
all
you very
right,
much for
Diane
your,
Medeiros, but I'm letting you know
very good.
that on record, that there was a tall white guy that was taking
We understand,
signatures
you've said this,
at
yes.
the Cape Verdean Fest and
Thank
the
you.
4th of July, and he's not the one who submitted that affidavit to the East Providence Board of Canvassers.
Thank you. You said this repeatedly. You're
Well,
on
I'm gonna
record.
say it again.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll move to deny the objection.
We
and
have
the
a
appeal.
motion to deny the objection. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Johnson. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's a unanimous vote.
Ms.
Thank you.
Barnes, we do want to echo the chair. We are sorry for the experience that you had.
You guys are not sorry, because I just would have been on channel 10 or 12 as this black dead woman who got shot through the door running for David Cicilline's spot, and nothing would have been done for me or my kids but a GoFundMe. So there's no safety for this.
Thank you.
You guys should just get rid of the signature
you.
portion, because there's no
Thank you.
safety in it, there's no warning in it.
Thank
And let
you.
me tell you, when the first person that does get shot
Next
behind
item on
this,
the agenda,
you guys
please.
will be sued.
Next item on the agenda. We have nomination papers for Larry Hutchinson Jr., and we'd like to hear from you, Miguel. Mr. Hutchinson, you're here? Excellent.
Madam Chair, can I just make one request?
Sure thing.
Can maybe, through council, maybe the issue of the objection can be sort of narrowed and he can sort of let them know
That would be
what they need to
extremely
provide to
helpful.
us?
Yes,
You referring to the current one?
yes, please.
Sure.
Thank you for that, Lou.
Thank you.
So present before the board is an appeal of a decision not to validate signatures by Mr. Larry Hutchinson Jr. The basis for the challenge, so-called appeal, is that the signatures that he collected on his behalf were not filed in the proper place. And the proper place would have been with the local boards of canvassers. And unfortunately, he failed to do so and misunderstood his obligation, statutory obligation, which would be to file all of those papers with the appropriate local communities, the local canvassing authorities. By looking at the paper itself, there are no other allegations. Obviously, there's no assertion that any particular signatures that were rejected should be qualified or the reverse. So the papers themselves appear to be in position for a summary decision by the board. I would recommend that it be, that the appeal, so-called, be dismissed on its face as a result of any allegations set forth therein that could be a basis for a remedy by the board.
We should hear from Mr. Hutchinson if he wishes to address the board, however, Mr. McCutcheon.
He has the right to, obviously, I'm recommending a motion to dismiss, and the challenger, Mr. Hutchinson, certainly has an opportunity to be heard. If you are going to be presenting any evidence, we'd ask that you be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good, thank you. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Larry Hutchinson, 294 Admiral Street, Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay. Would you like to address us as to your complaint?
Honorable Board, local media, residents of the great state of Rhode Island. I've ran for every office except for U.S. Senator now, with this being a candidate for Rhode Island 1st District Council Congressperson 2023. These are the 600 plus signatures that I acquired on the day of Friday, last week, 14th. My only concern was whether or not I had enough signatures to cushion the 500. I had about 580 signatures at that time. I stood at the post office around the corner on Branch Street from the Elections Division and collected more signatures. When I got to the Secretary of State's office about 3:15, they told me that they could not take my petition. I'm from Michigan. As I said, I'm a former Green Party nominee for Michigan Secretary of State. There, and I understand this is not Michigan, there we take them from where we declare and where we get the package from. So just like anyone would not, I'm sure you all have fairly new vehicles. No one goes and reads the manual for their new vehicle. They just go in there and they know how to drive the car. Even if they have a push button vehicle, the person that's selling you the vehicle tells you how to use the push button and turn on the car. Same with electronics, your television, you play around with it, and if you can't figure it out, then you go to the instructions. Because of the quick time that this had to be in, my thinking was on July 3rd, go get the signatures and immediately go out and collect signatures. I didn't think to read the fine print. I just went out and got the signatures in good faith. And this is on me. But I'm just here on behalf of the voters that signed my petitions. I found out that in Providence, hardly anybody spoke English. So I went to Newport and interrupted people while they were eating and holding their children. This was after working an 8-hour shift. I took the hour-long bus to Newport and Middletown and Bristol, East Providence, and collected these signatures in good faith. And in my mind, the election division would receive these anyway. You guys have the power. The honorable board has the power to validate these signatures. Will you is a whole different story. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Okay. You
Right,
understand that we are, I'm sorry, that we are bound by law to follow certain rules and regulations, and I think that our attorney is going to explain to you.
You're of course right, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's unfortunate for some people in your predicament, but we are a creature of the General Assembly. We need to follow the laws that they have put in place. And the laws could not be any clearer. And there's a purpose for them, which is to give local boards an opportunity to determine the validity of the signatures that are submitted in a way that obviously the Secretary of State would not be able to, or to the same extent that the local boards can. So because of that, there's no basis for the board to take a vote to allow your name to be on this ballot.
Essentially, that's
Madam
Bottom
Chair,
line,
I'll-
yes.
I'll move to deny.
Mr. DeSimone makes a motion to deny. Do we have a second? Seconded by Vice Chair Scholes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. As opposed, it's unanimous.
Thank you, board.
I hope you try again. Thank you. The next matter, if you could couch that for us, we'd appreciate it.
Yes. Do we have the name of the challenger? I don't have that letter before me.
Do we have the name of the challenger, Mr. Nunes? Nicholas Mariletti.
Could he please come forward?
Is he here?
I assume he is.
I assume he's not.
Okay. Well, he would be needed to advance his challenge.
Okay.
Is it possible he could be in the hallway here?
Could we check, Bob? And if not, we could pass that to the end and perhaps he'll show
That's.
later on the agenda.
That you could do that, yes, if you wish.
Let's move on to the next one.
Take the next one.
The next one is Gregory L. Mundy. Mr. Mundy's present.
Good afternoon, thank you.
Good afternoon to you. And,
Should we swear in the witness? I have a question at the outset.
oh, okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So, Mr. Monday, I have before us the letter of July 19. Is that the letter you submitted on your behalf?
Yes.
And it indicates that you're requesting a challenge to the number of signatures that were verified. The full extent of the letter is what I have in my hand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So we would typically be looking for a factual basis to support any particular signature, any other challenge that you want to make, but it would have to be based upon some evidence. And from this, it appears that you're just making a broad request that claims that you're challenging the entire number of signatures. Is that
So-
right?
Yeah, that's correct. So I was contesting the number of signatures that have been disqualified. So there were a total of
He was sworn.
31. Can you hear me? So there were 31, and
But we don't have any of those before us. You haven't, for example, you haven't presented any information that a person actually lives in an address when it was rejected for an improper address, anything of
Yeah.
that nature we have not seen.
I actually have 11 affidavits that have been signed by individuals who had completed the signatures on my ballots, and they have verified that I have the information with me. So yes, I do have data or evidence to show that they did sign these forms. For the last 2 days, I've been driving around to everyone who was on that list to have them verify whether or not the signatures we had match their signatures. So I think one of the issues is that there is a mathematical possibility because of the numbers that are on there that and because of the way they might have been written that they didn't match their license. I think that's probably what happened in several of these individuals' cases.
Well, then why don't we hear from the staff first as far as the numbers?
Sure.
And then you
Sure.
can proceed with
That would make sense.
further argument.
Thank you. In his objection, Gregory Mundy challenged the number of signatures that were verified by the Board of Canvassers. Upon review by the staff here at the Board of Elections, Mr. Mundy submitted 712 signatures on 66 forms to 13 different communities in CD1. 478 signatures were validated by the Board of Canvassers and 234 were disqualified. Those are the numbers that we've compiled based on what he submitted.
478 is the number that he has right now, you're saying?
Yes, yes.
So you were able to get 11 affidavits, you said?
Yes.
So that would-
And if
So
I
that's
could-
still,
If, and to my, just to let me clarify, So 11 signatures, I have the 11 signatures. If I had had more time, I mean, literally for the last 2 days, from the time I got up yesterday until minutes before I got here, went to each one of the voters that we had on our list and had our signature pages and verified that these were indeed their signatures. So I'm not sure, again, if there was some issue with how they wrote it at the time, but these were people that, again, that I have validated affidavits from indicating, yes, these are their signatures.
So if we were to add those 11 to the 478, it would still only give us 489
Yeah, and I
good
have,
signatures.
and we have additional individuals who have already indicated to us. So there are another 5 individuals that have indicated that they would sign the affidavit. We didn't get a chance to have that before we got here. Again, there's, just myself running around trying to get all these
I understand.
signatures obtained. So, I mean, if I had another 24 hours, I know I would be able to get the required 22.
And we would love to be able to give you those 24 hours, but unfortunately, I mean, aren't we bound, Ray, to finish this proceeding?
We have 2 days, we have 2 days to do so. Our deadline is today for this process. It's a rapid fire process. Our own Supreme Court has observed that it's rapid fire and understands that there are really 2 purposes for that. One, to allow the voters to have as much time as possible to have knowledge or gather information on those who are eligible. And 2, we superimposed on that our federal obligations that we make sure that there are at least 45 days that the ballots go out to those who are either serving or living overseas. That needs to be done immediately. I believe that it actually will start tomorrow, that process. So the deadlines are rapid. We do follow those deadlines because they're from the General Assembly. And until those are amended, we are as constrained as you are in making that decision within this timeframe.
So I just want to make this last point. It seems to me that we're undermining our democracy by having people that actually signed my ballot and had verified that they had signed my ballot. And so I'm being penalized because someone determined that their signature was invalid.
Unfortunately,
Do you agree that that's what's happening now?
that there are, I'll say this, all I can say is that there are significant consequences for not meeting that 2-day challenge period. And that is why people, whenever possible, obtain more than the needed amount, significantly more, so that they can
Yeah,
address
I actually
the fact that
had-
we have 2
I
days.
had more than 233, and so out of the 700, more than 700 signatures that I collected, 233 of those signatures were declared invalid. I find that number to be extremely high, and particularly for the number that I had for Providence, the number was more than half. I've spoken to people in the past who had talked about these types of numbers and saying that they are exceptionally high. So I could understand rates of, 3%, 5%, even 15%, but 50%, it just seems a little bit unusual.
If I may, Madam Chair, I
Yes,
just wanted
Mr. Nunes.
to point out, as I will in the next case, the efforts that the staff does to try to reach out to these, the candidates when there is an objection. As Mr. McCarthy stated, there is a very small window of time in order to, by law, that we have to, that the board has to make a decision on these objections, which is today. So we, on the evening of Wednesday, which 4 o'clock was the deadline to submit the objections on Wednesday, I sent Mr. Mundy an email requesting specific information regarding his challenge, since it was broad, and any evidence that he had in order to support his challenge. And unfortunately, I used the email that was on his letterhead on his actual objection letter, which unfortunately it came back twice as undeliverable. So immediately when I came in the next morning, I did find in the Central Voter Registration System on his declaration form I researched that, and he did put another email address on there, which I was able to, I believe, successfully send to him the following morning. And then at 8:54 a.m. on that Thursday morning as well, I also followed up with a phone call to him, but unfortunately, he didn't answer and his voicemail box was full, so I was unable to leave a message. Late yesterday, I did get forwarded an email from Gregory McBurney from the Elections Division of the Secretary of State, that someone from his campaign had reached out to them. He forwarded it to me. And then I immediately forwarded it. This was after 4 o'clock. I immediately forwarded it to him, to his campaign manager, I believe, Khalil Thompson, with that same email requesting any additional information. So prior to just walking into the hearing here, they did supply some names to us. And as he mentioned, he has these 11 affidavits. But we did make several attempts to reach his campaign so that they were aware of the any additional information that they could submit, so it could give the staff time to look at the matter more closely.
Understood. And certainly we appreciate the fact that you and the staff were diligent in trying to get hold of this gentleman to tell him that you needed more information. And I'm sorry that that didn't happen. I don't really know at this point how we can do anything to help you. And I as much as I'm sorry that you
Well,
aren't able to,
I just want to point out.
just the
something.
timeline doesn't allow us to do much at this point.
If I were able to get 11 more people who actually signed my ballot to validate that they signed, again, that's what we're disputing here. I've already identified 11 people who had already signed the ballot. So you're telling me I don't have an opportunity to do that? These are people that signed the ballot. These 11 people that I have signatures for indicated that they signed the ballot. And there's 20 more people.
And were those signatures, what was the basis for the denial on those 11 and the
I
other
don't
20?
know. You would have to,
You know, that's,
Well, that
Yeah.
conversation should
Yeah.
have been had
Yeah.
a day or two ago is the problem.
they could have been invalidated for reasons other than just the signature.
Right.
For example, they could have been not registered to vote.
and was that information provided to Khalil?
On
The specifics, was that provided to the campaign?
the nomination papers, we have the specific reasons that are listed on the right for why the locals would have
So for
disqualified
the
the signer.
signatures,
Would be an S, yes.
but you indicated that there might be something other than the signatures, right?
Correct. It could be that I signed a nomination paper or a person signed a nomination
Uh-huh.
paper and they weren't a registered voter.
Uh-huh.
So then that wouldn't
Right.
count. Or it could be that they didn't reside in the state of Rhode Island. That wouldn't count.
Or in that town or city,
Or
right?
in
On that particular
town or
voting.
city,
yeah.
and so they wouldn't show up on
But-
my roll and
Yeah.
I would deny it.
So what I want to know is that information communicated with that?
It should have been actually written on your nomination paper.
No. I am saying, was it an information? when
Right,
you said that it
the
was-
local board should have written that on your, why they were rejecting it on your paper.
I never received that information.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm contesting the signatures.
Okay.
Any questions or any other comments for this gentleman or for Mr. Nunes?
I just have one comment.
Sure.
I've been involved in many elections, and I've sat on this board and heard many
Mhm.
objections. And it's always, I say, it behooves upon the candidate to submit more than double the number of required signatures, just because of this very reason. Because not everyone's going to qualify. Either they don't live in a district, or they haven't registered to vote, or they moved away, or whatever. That way you have enough cushion, but just submitting just 712 and hope that you qualify with that 212 cushion, and you end up in this situation. I'd like to help you, but the Supreme Court says we have no statutory protection.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, but the reality is that, again, we had 11 people that had been disqualified. And again, my understanding is it was because of the signature. So if that is the rationale, then I'm contesting that based on the fact that, again, I had 11 signatures. I only needed 11 more signatures. And again, if I had had the, 24 more hours, I know I would be able to get the required number of signatures. I was out there collecting these signatures.
I mean, look,
Large
we would be
numbers.
thrilled to give you 24 more hours if we could, but we are prohibited by law from doing
That's
that.
the problem.
Can I
Mrs.
ask
Johnson, you have
a-
something?
Could I ask just a mechanical question to Miguel and the staff? Hearing many of these before, what is the process by which the candidates are notified of their nomination papers and they are able to obtain them with, as Commissioner DeSimone mentioned, that the column that shows exactly why they weren't counted so that they can then object to the rejections? Can you
So,
walk us through that?
Yeah, so in the email that I sent, which was unsuccessful twice, the third time, I believe it was successful the following day, I did list out that to obtain copies of the nomination forms or to obtain a voter registration list or any other documentation related to their nomination, maybe they should contact the Secretary of State's office. And I put their phone number in there and their email address so that they could contact them. I'm not sure if he did do that. But as I said, I did try several times to get that information to his campaign. Unfortunately, I was unable to reach them until the next day after the Secretary of State had been contacted by someone on his campaign from a different email address.
Thank you.
Now,
Understood.
one quick question. If I was able to get the remaining 11 signatures by midnight, would that be an issue? You're
Well,
telling me you're going to do it tomorrow. So if I did it by midnight,
No, so let me clarify.
Mhm.
We would not be doing it. That would be the Secretary of State's office. That's
Mhm.
why I wasn't clear if
Mhm.
they're beginning tomorrow or not, but I believe they are. That's for the shipment,
yeah, I understand.
when they start sending them out overseas. The board itself can only make decisions when it's convened publicly
Mhm.
with a quorum.
Mhm.
That will be ending sometime very soon. After whatever other hearings we have now, the board will then conclude the hearing and will be done. There will be no one else here to hear this at midnight tonight, for example. So you need a ruling by the board to oversee or reverse or modify anything done at the local levels. And obviously, we won't be here to do that. This is your opportunity now. Regrettably, it's
Yeah, that's- yeah.
fast, but that's the way the statutory
Yeah,
scheme is
it's-
set up.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because driving literally all over Rhode Island for the last 2 days, myself and several other people trying to gather, have the people that had signed the ballot to get them to verify this. This is, it's really unsettling, extremely disappointing.
Understood. Perhaps we need a better way of just informing people when they are running for office exactly what's required of them. I'm not saying the board, I'm saying all of the entities, so that they understand what the process is. Perhaps that would make it a little bit easier for some of these folks. Like the gentleman said about the manual in the car, that was a really good analogy, actually. So I think it's not a bad thing to get more information when you're actually commit yourself to run for an office, which is not an easy thing, to know exactly what the
Yeah.
rules are. And
I
I understand your
knew-
frustration, sir.
Yeah, I knew what the rules were, and I also knew that I needed to get, a significant number of ballot signatures. And as you can see, I know some of the other candidates that ran had a smaller portion of their ballot signatures invalidated. Again, I don't know why. Mine were so high, but yeah, it's really disconcerting.
Understood, sir. Do we have an action the board wishes to take at this time?
I'll move to deny the objection.
Motion by Mr. DeSimone. Do we have a second to the motion? Seconded by Vice Chair Scholes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous vote. Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I would just like to bring to the board's attention that the staff of the Board of Elections provides a document to the Secretary of State's office that says candidates for election to office in 2023 nomination papers. and that the Secretary of State's office also provides information to all the candidates when they declare.
I appreciate that. Sometimes we don't read the fine print.
I am well aware.
Okay, next.
Madam Chair, was there a determination that the moving party is not here in the building?
We do have someone who is going to speak on behalf of the gentleman who filed the paperwork.
Is it an attorney or is it the,
I don't know
It's a
that.
campaign manager.
Okay,
I mean,
I can address that if that person is here. Yeah.
Is it Mr. Masterson?
It is.
And there may be people here on behalf of the candidate as well who they can come forward as well if they wish.
Madam Chair, if we can just have counsel address the matter of the objecting party not being here, that's a potential issue
Okay.
from my standpoint.
I don't know, I don't even know exactly who is here at this point, but I know the council here is here from Washington as well as locally. And we have a candidate manager for, the person who filed was not the candidate himself, it was someone else on their behalf. Is that correct? That's my understanding.
It's not clear to me who the person that filed is, frankly.
Nicholas.
I know the name, but I'm not sure
Oh.
I'm not sure what his
It's- yeah,
capacity is.
Got it.
So we do have a statute, 171411, that deals with standing with respect to challenges to the authenticity, verification of signatures at the local level. When you look at the statute that deals with review, as is today by the board, there is no reference to the standing. It has been my view in the past that since the Gelch decision back in the mid-1980s, when there was a challenge to whether or not Mr. Cianci was eligible to be on a ballot for the city of Providence after being convicted of a felony, the person who made the challenge was not a candidate, nor was they were also not a party chair, very similar to the language of 171411, which requires either of those two for standing. And it was just a resident of the city of Providence, and the Cianci campaign argued that because they could not set forth a particularized injury or were not a candidate, they nonetheless, the court found that they still had standing because it was a matter of significant public concern. For that reason, I would have recommended to the board that the person who did file would have been able to be heard.
Mhm.
And that person is clearly not here.
Mhm.
I don't know what your connection is to the person who filed. I understand you're a campaign manager for a candidate, but the person who filed, what is your connection with that person? Are you an agent, attorney, or someone else representing him?
So Nick Marletti, he's the campaign manager for Don Carlson. He submitted the challenge, and he is in Boston with his sick father. So I am the campaign director for Don Carlson. And I was here to get a statement from Nick on record. So I have a statement that I can provide to all of you to get on record for this hearing, and I'm happy to read it out loud as well.
What is your advice, Ray?
Nick on
The-
Zoom.
I think in addition to what Mr. DeSimone has asked, we may also want to just hear from the Matos campaign. They may have a position they want to share. I don't know if they do or not.
Yeah,
Okay,
They should
Have a
identify
seat,
themselves,
yeah.
please, and have a seat.
so let's just hear what they have to say and we'll go from there.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Goldberg. I represent the Matos campaign.
And John Burkhan from the Elias Law Group also represent the Matos campaign.
Okay, so we do have, I think, given the way that this has proceeded, I'm not sure, John, if you have any license in Rhode Island. I understand, obviously, you have license in a number of states. Are you also licensed here?
I am not, so I'm associating with Mr. Goldberg.
Okay. And
I'll move to accept him as a valid counsel, given the fact that he's here with the Rhode Island Council.
yeah, I think all we can do, we can't admit someone to be licensed, but what we can do is allow this to proceed with the understanding that if it proceeds, you will do some type of a pro hoc motion before the appropriate court. So why don't we
And
proceed?
we have commenced that process. in
Then
terms
that's
of
all.
At least
Thank
drafting
you.
the paperwork,
Then-
recognizing just the.
Yeah, you can proceed then.
Do you want us to address the? first
Standing,
question?
I think we should address the standing and representation issue first before we get into the merits.
The other question I would have, Ray, is given the action that we took at the start of the meeting, what effect does that have, if any, on this objection?
Well, we can't obviously disclose much more than what we've already said by way of the vote, but it does seem to me that there could be challenges that are separate and apart from anything else that has occurred that would allow us to nonetheless hear the basis or the merits of the challenge to
Okay.
whether it's for signatures or residences or anything else, but we're not at that point yet.
So the first thing they're going to address is the standing issue,
Yes,
and then give the other gentleman an opportunity to address any specifics if we find that he has standing.
if we find that the gentleman here who has the report, he wants to read into the record, we could proceed then, but we should at least hear from you as far as what your view is on the standing.
Yeah, so our reading, we agree, Counselor, it's not directly addressed in the statute, but in terms of the general structure, there's a clear requirement that an objection be set forth. And I think even if you assume, for purposes of this discussion, that standing is not limited to the candidate or party, the person who is filing the objection must be the person who brings forth and essentially prosecutes the objection at this hearing. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch this gentleman's name, but he's not the counselor for the objector. There's no direct relationship. He's not an agent of the objector. And I'm not aware of any, precedent here that you would have someone who is not a lawyer or otherwise agent of the objector standing in for that person. So it's always, I think, would be our view that he's not able to proceed and represent the objector in this hearing.
Any questions? Lou, do you have
Well,
a question?
I would just ask for our counsel whether you concur.
To
on
weigh in?
So based upon what I've heard, both from the gentleman who wishes to be heard on behalf of the objector, as well as the comments made by Mr. Burkhan, it is my opinion that the person here does not have standing to proceed with this. It sounds like there was, unfortunately, a medical situation, but it is also apparent that there was enough time to make sure that this gentleman was here, and perhaps if that was done, they could also have had an attorney appear, which would have remedied that. But there is no one who is authorized to represent anyone else unless you are a party, and we are a quasi-judicial board, so I always do look for attorneys to be involved. So it is my opinion that the a complaint or objection, so-called, should be dismissed for lack of anyone here to submit argument or evidence on behalf of the person who made the filing.
Okay.
I
Mr. Scholes?
that the objection is not in proper format because it's not signed, it's not notarized.
So
Well, there would have been, there would have been other reasons, and I think that there may have been more than one that we're considering, but one clearly was not filed in time and was not signed.
So I would, based upon what counsel has said, I would move to dismiss, but obviously without prejudice to any investigation that the Attorney General would have in the future. But with regard to this specific objection or complaint, if you will, I would move to dismiss based upon what both counsel and what Commissioner Scholes have rendered.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Any questions? Hearing none? Yes, Mr. Jack
Sorry, just a quick question to our attorney. Tell me what exactly the statute again that applies here? Just the number, so I want to look it up.
For the statute on
Yeah,
representation?
yes.
Well, that's a Supreme Court requirement
Okay,
that
got it, sorry.
you cannot appear on behalf of another in a judicial proceeding and agency without being properly licensed as an attorney. You can, if it is your own interest, just like you can in court, appear pro se. But that's not a statute. There may be a statute that touches on it, but that's not what I was referring to.
Great. Thank you, that answers my question.
So I have a written statement authorized by the objector, and that's all I want to submit to you on record.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second, and we should act on that motion and second, correct, Ray?
Well, once that's heard, then you could not introduce further evidence. is it in the form of evidence?
It's in the form of a written statement. authorized by the objector.
Yeah, I think unfortunately,
If I need,
I think it's
I
lengthy.
have an attorney in the parking lot that I can.
We should have thought ahead.
I don't know why you would hold that in your vest pocket,
Yes,
sir.
right?
That's,
I know that I was going to need an attorney to submit a written statement by the authorized objector.
There has been a written statement
received
submitted already
something,
by the
yes.
objector.
Okay, great.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's a unanimous vote of the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One last item to hear this afternoon is that of Bella D. Noka. Is Bella here? Bella Noka? Okay. Please have a seat. Okay, you'll be testifying, so if you would raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good. Should we start with you, Miguel?
Yes, my pleasure. So in the objection submitted by candidate Belanoka, she challenged specifically the count of the ballot signatures that were verified by the Board of Canvassers, as well as the number of signatures submitted by her campaign. So as a summary for what she submitted to the local boards, she collected 616 signatures on 46 forms in 18 communities. 401 signatures were validated by the Board of Canvassers, and 215 were disqualified. Now, just to outline the efforts that we made as well to contact Ms. Noka regarding her objection, on the evening of June 19th, again, I sent Ms. Noka an email requesting the names of any specific signers or additional evidence that she was challenging, or any additional evidence that she had pertaining to her objection. And I did follow up the morning after with a phone call to Ms. Noka to let her know that I did send her an email, that she should review it. And that email contained the same information that was in the email I sent to Mr. Monday, informing her of her ability to go to the Secretary of State's office to obtain copies of her nomination forms and to obtain a voter list and any other information regarding the nomination papers that she could obtain from the Secretary of State's office. I did speak to her, and she indicated that she would come into the office here on Thursday, yesterday, by 1 p.m. And when she arrived, she did not provide any additional evidence on any specific signers to me at that time for any of the signatures that were disqualified by the local boards. She did have questions about the process, which I spent some time explaining the process to her, as I did on Wednesday, the day before in the afternoon, when I had spoken to her at length about the process as well. And I happily answered her questions, and then I reminded her about today's hearing. But there was no additional information that was provided by Ms. Noka apart from her original objection, which she did file to commence this hearing.
So, Miguel, how many good signatures does this potential candidate have?
401.
401. Okay. Did you want to respond?
Yes, I would, and thank you for having me today. I would like to say, my name is Bella Noka. I'm a Narragansett tribal elder, And I am sorry to have witnessed such an erosion of democracy here today. The fact that this gentleman was wronged by.
Let's
I
stick to.
get that. I am
Okay.
sticking to it because this is going to affect me.
Mhm.
So
Tell us how.
I have Bobby Brittle Oliveira, who is the grandson of Johnny Brittle. Many of you, I'm certain, know Johnny Brittle over the years. And I looked at his signature, and it said it wasn't his signature. Well, it was in question. So I called him this morning. I said, "Did you know that your signature is being questioned?" He was very, very upset. He has a great following on social media. And he said, "Bella, please let me know the outcome." I then again looked at Ronald Machado and Trina Machado, both of their signatures, one after the other. And I know Ronald Machado and Trina Machado. They lived in the Fox Point area when I was a child. His signature was questioned. He's been a voter since, he could vote. And he is going to be notified. There are a lot of these signatures that are in question, just like the gentleman right here, that are the error of the election process. Not from this gentleman, not from me, but from the election process. And we should be given adequate time to make certain that if I can please.
No, ma'am, I don't want to stop you, but you're here today to give us evidence as to why you believe you have 500 signatures.
Right.
You need to give us specific evidence
For the
so that,
same
so that
reason.
we can allow you on the ballot. But that specific evidence, if you would need to provide for 99 additional
Right,
signatures.
and I am, first of all, when
And
he.
I will tell you that in the past, candidates have come before this board short on signatures
Mhm.
and presented us with evidence as to why those signatures should be qualified, and we've qualified them.
That's right.
As early as the last election,
I
we've
appreciate
qualified
that.
candidates that local boards have said shouldn't be
I
qualified.
appreciate that, and that's nice, and I think that should have been allowed for this gentleman to my right. However, it wasn't, and I see injustice after injustice, and it's really sad. Here today in Rhode Island, there is a board that is not representative of any of my people. There is a board that does not look like the face of Rhode Island. And that is an injustice right there. I know that there are people who sat here, and whenever somebody spoke about uh, institutionalized racism or anything like that, it was dismissed. I sat here and listened to a woman complain about being threatened, and there was no care about her well-being, no question as to who it
Madam
was.
Chair,
Not
Who it
true,
was.
not true.
All right,
Yeah.
it's documented, but
Let's
I'm
address
going.
your issues,
I
please.
am. I waited for you. You were a half an hour late. I'm just trying to get my point in now. So,
that, please.
with all due respect, I would like the same respect. So me here, as an elder as you are, I am trying to put my voice at this table because we're not heard. We are being erased. And right here in this area where I was, Providence, 02908, it's split. The Pawtucket, it's split. All of the municipalities from the East Bay, there was no challenges, maybe one or two. All white Caucasian communities, which I am proud of because that's how it should work in these brown and black communities. But it is not made that way. It is to confuse my people.
You're talking about the congressional district's line.
Yes, I am saying that it is to confuse my people. And with this gentrification that has taken place, people are being moved and shifted every single day. You are aware of that. You are very well aware of that. I would like to know, even with the election board, who are they saying, when they make these changes, who are they sending these notifications out that your district has been changed? Because I never received one in my whole life. I am a native born Rhode Islander. I am a Narragansett tribal member. I've been here since time immemorial. I predate all of your laws, your constitution, your charters, and I am here to fight for my people. And that's why I ran for Congress, because of the erasure of my people. Gina Raimondo, who owned Narragansett Brewery. She owned it. She sold it in 2016 when she
This
had to
isn't
disclose.
relevant.
No, it's not relevant. But these are the reasons why we are being kept from running. This gentleman had the best argument ever. He only needs 22 signatures. And you are keeping him from that. When people sign affidavits stating that that signature is theirs, even though it said the only thing in question is signatures, and you will not allow him that. I think that he should be allowed. He's a black man, a brown man, whatever you want to call him, but he is being stripped his rights. And if I can't fight for myself today, I will fight for you.
Ma'am,
Because
can you,
he
We have to
should
can
be on
you,
him.
can you address your particular
I am,
candidacy?
I
You're not,
am.
you're not, ma'am. You're not addressing it at all.
Okay, well then I'm not. I'm addressing it for the state of Rhode Island and for all of the people out there whose voices are being stripped. You see it, I see it, we all see it. And the time has come. Everybody's being exposed for their wrongdoing. You can sit in your positions and you can be appointed by governors or whoever you want and be cushy and protect each other in any way you can. But the time has ended. This new generation is changing things. And
Ms.
they
Noka,
are
had
not-
you gotten your 500 good signatures, you would be on the ballot.
You know
That
what?
is the
Well,
bottom
then
line.
put that I had 500.
Enough.
Listen,
Enough. We've heard, not again,
Madam
please,
Chair.
not again, not again.
Ma'am,
Do we have a
ma'am,
police officer
ma'am,
here?
you're out.
You already have.
We have
who
heard
you wanna
enough
put
from you, madam.
Already in Cicilline's seat. And the
Do we need
white
a motion,
woman
please?
told me. She said they already want to
Do
put
we have a
Rob
motion?
Joe and they want to put De Silva in
To
as
deny the.
lieutenant governor. You guys
Ma'am,
already have your
enough,
mind made up.
Ma'am, you've had your
Democracy
opportunity to speak.
is over right here with this state, right here, with you guys on it. There's no blacks, there's no Hispanics, there's no
Actually,
half and half
Is that our
people.
fault?
There's,
It's our fault?
I'm trying to tell you.
Did you say
there's
is that our
nobody
fault?
that represent
Excuse
us
me, Chairwoman, did you
up
just say, is
there
that our
on
fault?
this board.
Enough, please?
I just heard you
Enough.
say, is that our fault?
Enough. We've had
At the
enough
end
of
of
a
the day,
preach. We've been
I don't
preached
care.
at for the
I
last
don't care.
hour.
At the end of the
Enough.
day, my life was threatened, and not one time did you say, did the officer ask who threatened you? Not one time. But you sat here and you lied to Bella and said, yes, we did. Oh, yes, we did. Oh, no,
Lied to
you
Bella.
didn't. The only one who gave a damn was the white woman who signed my nomination papers. That was the only one.
Okay. Very good. Can we take an action on this?
I didn't even finish.
I think you
I'm
are
not gonna
finished.
listen to any more.
I
I'm gonna
think you're
make a
finished.
motion to dismiss.
Well, you know what?
We have
a motion.
I
Expect
really,
Do we have a
I
second?
really hope that everybody out there in social media world, and you are taping and videotaping,
We have a
that you
motion by Mr.
investigate
DeSimone.
this
Do we have a
team,
second?
that you investigate this election committee, this
I
board,
second it.
Seconded
because
by
this
Mr.
is a
Schultz.
violation of this
Any
gentleman's rights,
discussion?
and I
I would
support
say the
him.
discussion being there
It's
is no evidence
disgrace.
presented
It's a
by you.
disgrace. You let Mayor Vincent Cianci
We have a
on
motion and
to
a second.
run.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, it is a unanimous vote of this board to dismiss. Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I support you.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed,
But they're
unanimous.
all gonna support her.
We are adjourned at 5:03 PM. Thank you. Motion was unanimous vote.